and let not any iniquity have dominion over me. If there's one verse that should shut the mouths of those today, and believe it or not, they call themselves grace preachers, but they're preaching that in order for Christ to be the absolute substitute, he would have had to have been made a sinner just like we are. Well, that would deny everything we're reading here. Because here, Christ's prayer was, let not any iniquity have dominion over me. There's a difference between him being the sin bearer and him being made a sinner. And here's where even people that say they believe in the message of grace will preach and pervert the scriptures to their own destruction. I don't care how much true things they say about God and his sovereignty, substitution of Christ, having died for particular people. They can dot their I's and cross their T's all they want to. But when you make the death of Christ or substitution to say that when Christ died, he actually was made sinful, and you boastfully say that God would not be just to put to death an innocent man, then you have not understood substitution, and you've not understood the gospel, and you're hardened in your sin and your darkness. There are some with whom I can no longer walk today, even though at one point we were very close friends over this one matter. Is it vital? It's vital. Because what you're saying then is that God accepted a corrupt sacrifice. You've not understood imputation. And these will make light of imputation. I've had some tell me God doesn't accept some paste-on righteousness. That's what they call imputation. As if it's a paste-on righteousness. This is not a paste-on righteousness. I'm telling you about a Christ who suffered and bore the sin of his people. But that sin never had dominion over him. He did not die a God-hater. He did not die a rebel, which is what would have had to be if he had been made sinful. You're telling me that there would have been some iniquity then that had dominion over him and therefore was the cause of his death. There's one preacher, and it's amazing what people will listen to just because they can't get their eyes off the preacher. And this one preacher will always argue with you about how long he supposedly has been preaching the gospel. But he actually stated that just as Aaron, see, this is how they take this to the extreme. Just as Aaron first offered for his own sin and then the sin of the people, it is said that Christ then would have had to first offer for his own sin and then the sin of the people. I don't know how long you can endure such preaching, but there's some people out there right now sitting listening to these men and think nothing of it because they soft speak it. When you address it, they step around it and go on. But it is what they declare and believe. That is not the Christ I know. And that is not the salvation I know. That's not the substitution that we find declared in Scripture. There's a reason why the Scriptures say that Christ was after the order of Melchizedek. I understand that he had to fulfill everything that was written concerning him in the Scriptures. But the Scriptures very plainly say he was not of that Aaronic line. He did not come from the line of Aaron. He was after the order of Melchizedek for a reason, because Aaron failed. But here's one now that as the substitute, his steps were ordered by God's word, verse 133, and there was absolutely no iniquity that had any dominion over him. He died not for his own sin, but for the sin of his people. All of this is vital. This is the way of the cross.